Welcome to another episode of Monster Monday from the Ready to Die channel. This series explores the design of a creature I have built for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The stat block for this creature can be found over on the Monster Monday blog, as well as the Twitter and Discord, all of which are linked below. This week features the Murakumo, a powerful but beautiful beast brought into the world through the game of Wild Hearts. I want to admit that this was honestly a bit of a difficult one. Information on creatures from Wild Hearts is way more limited than those from Monster Hunter, or even Dauntless. I had to look up some videos to establish the design parameters of this creature. I hope I nailed it, but I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. The Murakumo was added to Wild Hearts as an update, meaning it is more of a late game monster, which led to building it as a level 15 creature. Obviously, it is an animal, but like several of the Wild Hearts creatures I've already built, I went with including the plant trait based on the branches and flora that are part of its being. As a fox, the Murakumo is an agile and graceful creature represented by its extreme bonus to its dexterity, and this will serve as its primary combat stat. Its strength, wisdom, and charisma are all moderate values, and then its constitution is low, with it relying on its speed and swiftness to evade attacks rather than trying to tank them. The Murakumo is equipped with a high perception score, as I envision this creature as a hunter, since there isn't much information on it in regards to its lore, at least not that I can find. Building off of those ability scores, the Murakumo utilizes an extreme acrobatics skill, as well as a high stealth skill, which is based on foxes simply being sneaky, subtle animals. It has a moderate athletics, mainly to aid it in leaping around the battlefield, though as we'll see down the line, it does have alternate means of maneuvering. The Murakumo is a dodge tank when it comes to its hit ability, so it has a high armor class letting it evade attacks since it only has a moderate pool of hit points, and a weakness to a very common element. This weakness is based on the Murakumo's weakness in game, as is its resistance to wood, which from the limited information I've been able to find, is the Murakumo's element. Given how agile the Murakumo is, it has an extreme reflex bonus, which will make it difficult to nail down. On the other hand, its fortitude and will saves are both low to balance out this immense saving throw. As I've talked about, the Murakumo is fairly swift. In addition to its land speed, it has a burrow speed based on the few tunneling moves it makes. It also has pedal walk, but we'll wait until we start talking about abilities before we get into that. The Murakumo's offenses are pretty basic, featuring a single melee and single range strike, both of which use a high bonus. The former is aided by the inclusion of the finesse trait on the attack, letting it use its dexterity instead of its strength. Its jaws deal high damage given that it has to get up into melee to use them, while its ranged swirling petals deal between low and moderate damage. These petals are intended to represent a few different abilities of the Murakumo, particularly those where it summons whirling spears or discs of them to strike at enemies. Before getting into those specific features, the Murakumo has a few abilities to enhance and enable its mobility that it doesn't have to spend actions on. Firstly, there is pedal walk, which functions akin to airwalk, or the cloud walk ability, the Impeshi. This captures the effect where the Murakumo will sometimes stand above the battlefield on clouds of sakura petals as it rains down attacks. It also has Flow and Flowers, which is flavorful rather than mechanical, but felt very appropriate for the creature, letting it gain some protections as long as it at least moves most of its speed in a turn. Moving on to the Murakumo's abilities that require actions to activate, we'll start with something I didn't add until after the monster mash, and that is catching branches. The Murakumo is able to summon branches from the ground, and while this is based on that, it doesn't contain the damage portion of it. Instead, this particular ability is about battlefield control. It can cause creatures within 30 feet to become grabbed if they fail an almost extreme fortitude save. If a creature does become grabbed, it can escape with a moderate DC, which leaves only the difficult terrain of the area to contend with. However, the Murakumo is able to bypass this terrain with its pedal walk power. Scatter Petals is the Murakumo's most versatile ability given that it is a single action that allows it to strike in an area. This is, as I've said, based on the wheels, spears, and multitude of discs that the Murakumo will hurl at adversaries. It has the Flourish trait to keep this ability from being spammed, but it does actually spam these sorts of abilities in Wild Hearts, leading to me keeping it very action efficient, but not overwhelming in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. It's still a single action to potentially strike an entire team for the damage of its swirling petals. I designed the Murakumo to be a creature between a magical striker, in reference to its host of powers, and a skirmisher for its speed and mobility. As such, I included the Wildwood Pounce ability, which features the basic effects of the pounce seen on several creatures, but then reflects the branches the Murakumo can cause to erupt from the ground, dealing unlimited use area damage at a high DC. The Murakumo is able to extend these branches in different ways within Wild Hearts, which led to the choice between a cone or emanation when it uses this, as it didn't feel right to put this on a cooldown. When I did my first write-up on the Murakumo when I was gathering ideas for how to build it, I thought it had way too many abilities, but honestly it hasn't been too bad. In part, that is because I've been able to fold abilities into single effects, including its reaction. The Murakumo is partially made of plants and seems to be able to summon the wind, but it goes a step further by apparently being able to also manipulate electricity. This mainly comes out when it's enraged, an ability that I didn't include, but that is the reason why this reaction doesn't trigger until the Murakumo is at half health or lower. It deals unlimited use area damage to a single creature affected by one of its other areas, with a moderate save DC, and is based on the electricity that will follow its area effects whenever it is enraged. Finally, we have the Murakumo's so-called ultimate ability, which I have named the Swirling Storm. The idea is to emulate the attack where it will surround itself in swirling petals before calling down lightning that deals massive damage. This is its big attack, so this is using all three actions, and initially surrounding itself in a whirlwind of petals that deal unlimited use area damage at a high DC while also cloaking it, providing some protection to it while it stands in place, making it somewhat vulnerable. This, however, lulls the party into a false sense of security, because at the start of its next turn, that lightning comes crashing down in the first instance of limited use area damage at a high difficulty class in this creature's design. This gives the Murakumo some massive damage, but it can probably only pull it off once before the heroes get wise to its wicked ways. Much of the gear of the Murakumo offer additional benefits when the character is facing some sort of drawback. To that end, the Mask of the Vengeful Fox I designed boosts its wielders' damage while they are under the effects of certain conditions, but it also includes a bonus to acrobatics, given the Murakumo's excellent acrobatics, and a Bolt of Vengeance reaction. This specifically draws from the Murakumo's reaction, but plays into the vengeful theme of the mask, allowing its wearer to lash out against enemies who dare harm them. And that brings us to the end of this creature's design. This fearsome flowering fox flows from fertile fields to forests, fearlessly fending off foes with fang and fulgurate-forming flashes. This is a big creature, but one without much of its own design or goals on the world, possibly meaning it best serves as a random encounter. However, I think it can be used as a minion of a very powerful druid, elemental, or similar force to help tie it into the narrative of a game. Let me know what you think of this creature, and what others you would like to see in a comment. If you want to see other monsters I've done, or even the stat blocks and other versions of this monster, check out the Monster Monday blog or Twitter, linked below. Thanks for watching, and have a monstrous Monday.